Apologies to all these fabulous panelists. So we're going to have some more questions. I think actually these will be very capable of answering the same kind of questions. So please keep them coming. First of all, if just everybody could introduce themselves just by saying their name and who they're affiliated with. We basically have 3 people from TIP and 3 people from ORAN Alliance. Let's start with Renuka and work down the line here.
Sounds good. Renuka, I'm part of Meta Connectivity, and I'm representing TIP Technical Committee here.
Hi, my name is James Lee, representing ORAN Alliance, and also I'm serving part of the ORAN software community integration test project technical lead.
Hello, hi, I am On from Rakuten Mobile, and I'm also involved with ORAN Alliance, and I'm representing here ORAN Alliance MVPC and the features that we are, building in MVPC. Yeah. Okay.
Hello, my name is Nick Chibber. So I'm from BRB as a Chief Wireless Architect at the city office. And I'm also representing from ORAN Alliance. And I'm a rapporteur for machine memory optimization and the energy saving for working RAN. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Abdel Bagegni, and I'm from TIP, and I work on the Open RAN project group.
Hi, good afternoon. My name's Andy Jones. I've spent 20 years on the buy side of this industry at Vodafone, leading network strategy and architecture. And since then, I've spent 13 years mostly on the sell side of the same industry, around infrastructure, consulting and advising independently up and down the supply chain. I've also had TIP as a client, and I've just re-engaged consulting and helping out around the next steps that Dave was speaking to, especially this TIP Innovation Hub concept, which was generating quite a lot of questions from my ex-colleagues.
Okay, good stuff. So I'm going to ask Daniel as we do this to keep an eye and give us a time check and things as we go on, so that when the drinks start, people who want to can go join and all that sort of thing. Now, I haven't done any preparation with the panel, done this on purpose because sometimes these things get a bit scripted. So if you guys have any questions for anyone, raise your hand and we'll go forward like that. Just while you're thinking of a question, I'm actually going to start with Renuka. Renuka, you've got no idea what I'm going to ask you. But what I've been getting a little bit, I was getting a bit concerned through the event that there was lots of technical talk, process talk, this kind of thing. But right until just now on the main stage, barely anybody had mentioned customers and what users and customers want. Can you just draw a line for us between how we as consumers and customers and users of technology, how that somehow works its way through to what you're doing in the TIP Technical Committee? And then I'm going to go to Mohammed for the same question.
Okay.
I know you've no preparation, but...
You're starting with a tough question here. But let's see. See, TIP and Open RAN in general, what are we aiming for? We are aiming for accelerating deployments, accelerating innovation, and bringing optionality into that disaggregated world with multiple vendors being able to support solutions. All of that is eventually going towards an efficient infrastructure. And I would say that that touches what the end consumer wants. And we call it as different terms here in terms of the end user experience, the quality of experience for the consumer on their devices, the service quality that we provide on the overall network end to end. So all of these are our objectives, be it Open RAN or be it any other project group within TIP. And so I know the daily discussion goes way deeper than that, and we might lose track of, okay, why are we even working on bringing, say, more quality of experience, or bringing the efficient disaggregated RAN, or talking about bringing TCO down and so on. But it's the end goal is going to be about improving the quality of the network's services.
Yep. A legitimate. The reason I'm asking is quite often you analysts, you're doing presentations to different operators in different countries, and they just want a kind of an update. They're like a bit interested, but they're not that far down Open RAN is the truth of it in many cases. And what often they'll just say is, what is this going to do for me? Like, how is this going to help me make life better for my customers and therefore everything else that I'm doing? And these are technical CTO, chief engineer type of people. So network quality. Mohammed, how does customers impact, what you select to do it in an MVP, for example?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting question. So, what customers want is, connectivity, the best throughput, and the lowest latency, and the support for services today and also in the future. For example, VR, cloud gaming, all of those services that can be supported by the networks. So they are, these are the things that are basic requirements for any customer. But what do we want as an operator? So we want to make sure that customers, these basic requirements are met today, and also it's in a sustainable fashion, not only today, but also for tomorrow. So for that, we have to look into sustainability issue. We have to look into if our current network, is it upgradable to 5G and 6G? What are the paths for that? Are we dependent on any single vendor, or we are open and we are not locked in? So these kind of questions are important for ourselves as well as the end consumer, and how we connect both of them. Yeah.
Good stuff. Taking care of customers. Any questions in the room? Okay, gentleman here. We had a microphone. Thank you. And you could either say your name and company if you like, but if you want to direct it to somebody in particular.
Yes, my name is Ralph Lofdahl, and I represent Zilk, developer and manufacturer of radio heads. I understand that we want to accelerate innovation with also multitude of vendors. And then we have the giant task of interoperability testing, where we want to harmonize operator requirements and set a roadmap. There's a bit of a contradiction there, so how do we overcome that and achieve both goals?
Do you want to put that to anybody? I would suggest Tunsay there, because he's from...
Yes. So I'm coming from a test company, so I can answer your question. So firstly, of course, there are no question on the importance of the Open RAN. So that's why we are here. So Open RAN is very important for the industry. So we must make it happen in the reality. But on the other hand, so the harmonization with other specification or other industry must be there. Otherwise, ORAN, generally speaking, ORAN cannot work by itself. So we need a 3GPP specification and the ITR radio regulation and even HCNFV or other specification. We must have a harmonization there. So that's very important. So from a testing perspective, so global testing is quite important. So we commonly understand that this kind of test scenarios, test results must be shared openly with any company, including operators, vendors. So this is needed. Actually, the disaggregation for the RAN, we are done before for 3G, we are done for IUB interface, and so for LTE simply we are done before, but this is closed. So the 3G system became very complicated, and then so LTE became very simple. It's really successful, but on the other hand, LTE is more like a black box. There is another issue. Then we are going for 5G to make it Open RAN happening. So in order for Open RAN to make it happen, we need a purely open testing and globally. This is really required. And then in order to test this one, we need a great specification, we need an open specification. So that's why we are here to provide a great specification, great test specification, and badging or certificate or ribbon from ORAN Alliance or TIP. So this is really a must, not a should or can. This is a must.
Okay, let's have Andy has a comment. Let's keep these comments short, right? These answers, then everyone can get around. And then let's go to James Lee as well with a follow-up.
Okay.
Andy.
So TIP's mission is to restore the natural efficiency you had when a handful of vendors were serving hundreds of customers. Now, the pooling of demand and the pooling of requirements and the harmonization of requirements was a discussion few to many. Now it's many to many. So you need to have a way, and TIP intends to do this not in a uber-centralized way, but more in a federated way, to gain access to, for the long tail of followers, to those leaders who are willing to disclose the experience, including the satisfaction post-deployment, so post-sales, as well as output of labs. So you can expect to be able to benchmark the satisfaction with your RAN 6 months down the line, 9 months down the line, and how that changes over releases and how it evolves as the fishbone diagram of functionality grows as well in the roadmap. So just to give you a flavor of how there is a distinct difference between what TIP has done so far, fantastic achievements, building on the O-RAN Alliance early TRL testing, conformance testing of interfaces, but then productization includes everything that it will take to restore the efficiency that was broken as a collateral damage of disaggregation.
James Lee, do you want to comment on that, or I can turn it into a question unless...
Well, I don't think I will comment on that. I will just answer in a very general term because, for example, O-RAN Alliance is, two pillars. One is intelligence. Another one is for open interfaces, right? So, and we see from Ku's introduction to the O-RAN Alliance, we see the momentum, which indicates those two things are really what's required today from the industry. So, from my perspective, because I mentioned I also wear the hat of a PTL for integration and test, I think it also fits very well in this theme with TIP. Basically, the idea is like, with our open source, like O-RAN software community, to do the reference implementation to the latest and the greatest specification from O-RAN Alliance, and also today we have the MVPC, right? A lot of the new feature packages. So then, from the open source point of view, we try to do the work, do the implementation, and at the same time try to establish this channel for integration and interoperability test.
Okay. Any other questions? Going to end up having to land on Abdul's lap, I think, because he hasn't said anything yet.
No, I can add on to this question here. I mean, the main thing is to deliver a productized solution in a commercial grade and have it deployed in an economy of scale. And we know that this challenge couldn't happen overnight. Hence, TIP has this structured process of identifying the use cases that comes from the MNOs. So the MNOs would feed into that. The input from the MNOs will be obviously based on quality of experience and the end customer's true requirements. And then that would define what is the end goal is. Once it goes and defines the technical requirements, and then the platform is open for all players within the ecosystem, including those small companies that may not have the opportunity to have a direct channel with the tier one MNOs or even smaller MNOs. So they will get the chance to start testing and delivering based on the use cases from those MNOs.
Can I ask the audience a question? Would you allow me? How many of you would describe your role as an operator procurement person or operator supply chain manager? Okay, so we don't have the voice of procurement here. Okay, but intimately, technologists work with procurement people in operators, and they have goals such as the global price book for this product must intercept the price of the incumbents and go lower eventually. Now, to drive that requires driving volumes of adoption at full market scale. So I used to work for Vodafone that started in 1989 I joined, so it was a small challenger in the UK market, grew to become this multinational giant. But still, the volumes of Vodafone is 5% of the market, maybe. If you add all of the other tier ones, it's maybe 20%. So The rest of the long tail is a fat long tail. And without the volumes, including those followers, let's say. So here's the motivation for doing this as an industry. Here's the motivation for disclosing more than you would have done naturally if you went with your competitive instincts. Not to show everything, but to show what's necessary to give confidence for others to purchase configurations, the stacks and end-to-end solutions that have been tested once. Let's never do repetition of the fundamental testing. Okay, do some spot checks, test the market-specific things, test your legacy OSS integration or whatever's unique to you, but don't test everything again.
Well, let's take that point, and you can have a short go, and then Abdul maybe, and whoever else. The other point you made, though, is you get a day zero, a day one system, and it works, and you're happy with it. I think one of the big challenges, though, is it's an SI question, really, but how do you carry on making sure that that is conformant if one of the parts of the subsystem gets an update or someone changes this? There's a critical security update. There's a firmware update. How do you maintain the
Yeah, it's a great question.
specness?
It's a great question, because a plug fest is only as good as the way things were working until you unplugged and disassembled and shipped things back to base. It's a valid part of the process, especially in early TRLs, fundamental interoperability over a new interface. But what we need to get to, and here's the vision, if you like, is to get to a federation of independent, commercially viable system integrator / test houses that are part of a federation following a common spec, curated by TIP, owned by TIP, or let's say just looked after by TIP, to give the commonality. But each of those is doing what happens in Ericsson, Nokia, Huawei, where the full RAN system with 10 different teams in 10 different countries, it actually all comes together for goods out, full system validation, every time there's a new release, every 6 months. And that CI/CD process is not, again, uber centralized, but you can access it through TIP as the front door that will guide you to where a certain permutation, configuration, constellation of vendors has been tested before and is deployed and is working.
Okay, so we've got 2 minutes actually to drink. It's probably 1 minute by now since I got the signal. So I'm going to say, basically, give anyone on the panel a chance to raise their hand and make a final comment. And I'm going to count down from 3, 2, 1. Abdul's done.
No, I just want to.
Okay, and then there.
I just want to comment on Andy's point here. So EHAB yesterday on the main stage spoke about the void in the marketplace when it comes to service integration. So we know that this exists. Earlier today, Scott Cohen spoke about quoting a Dish senior Dish executive and referring to the main delay that Dish had was due to that they didn't anticipate the challenge for integration. And I think this is where organizations like TIP aspire to become. We know there's a void in the market for service and integration. This would not be fixed overnight. Changing, like the lady's question earlier to David, apart from an ecosystem would require a lot of CI and CD and automation verifications. These challenges is the route where TIP is focusing on to solve, and this can be only solved by having a structured approach where all of the ecosystem contribute to and without having those kind of limitations or tendencies that this is a competitive advantage. We should not share this or that. I think one of the highlights of yesterday and today.
Let's make this the last highlight.
This is the highlight. Is that the ecosystem requires more collaboration to be able to deliver an Open RAN platform.
Sure, good stuff. Tunse, you have the last word, I think, unless
that's what. So,
raises.
yes, I just want to highlight that I shared with you, share the view from James. So the openness and the intelligence is very important. And one more thing, we need to consider the energy efficient. So this is quite important for the industry. If we disaggregate the RAN, but the energy is not efficient, then it doesn't work. So we need to make sure the energy must be efficient. That's the main message from these 2 days from this summit.
Yeah, I was quite struck by Ku's energy plane phrase that he's used 2 or 3 times in the event.
So from industry point of view, so it's not only ORAN or TIP, but 3GPP is also working on this energy efficient.
Yeah.
So we need to have some collaboration, the harmonization to make it happen. So that's the main message. Thank you.
Absolutely. So to close the panel then, what I'm going to suggest in a little bit reversal is all of us give all of you a hand of applause for listening to us for so long, and then we'll go to the drink. So if the panel would join me, we'll give them a round of applause. And thank you very much. And thanks to the panel.